Hi, and thanks for joining me on this video in which I want to answer some of the frequently asked questions that we receive about the opportunity to buy top quality, high yielding property in Orlando. So let's jump straight into the first question, which is, can I use the property myself? Well, the simple answer is yes. There's no reason why you shouldn't use the property yourself, either between tenants, or if you really wanted, you needn't let it out at all, and you could just use it yourself. But remember, we're offering a bespoke buy-to-let package, and so we think that the best use of the property is with a tenant in, because the yields are so good. What about renting and managing the property? Well, we rent the properties out, and most usually we will offer a property for sale with a tenant in place. But if you did reserve a property prior to it being let, then we'd make every endeavour to let it before the property closes. Now, some people have asked what the rental market's like, and at the moment it's very strong, partly because the local sales market is weak and local people are holding back from buying and are renting instead. But remember, we concentrate on buying the best properties in the best developments, so whether the sales market is weak or strong, we know we can let these properties out easily. Now, standard tenancy is for 12 months, and we can arrange for the letting and the management, and the basic management package costs 10% of the rent a month. But we also recommend that you consider our premium package, which costs $100 a month and includes our overseeing and arranging payment of HOA and RET for you, and in the unfortunate event that a tenant should need chasing for rent, or if they default, then it will also include lawyers' letters. Here's a question which we're asked from time to time, which is, I've searched the internet and found similar properties at cheaper prices. Why should I buy from you? Well, before I answer this question, there's one thing which can cause confusion, and that's the way that properties are numbered in the USA. So, for example, you may see street numbering like this. Now, what you may not appreciate is that the first number is usually a block number, and it's the second number after the street address, which is the number of the individual property. And this can cause a lot of confusion if you think you found details of one of our properties, but it's actually another property, albeit in the same block. But anyway, going back to the question, it's very easy to do an internet search and to find all sorts of properties at all sorts of prices, but you need to know exactly what the figure represents and what you're looking at. So, for example, can you tell whether what you can see is an asking price or a sale price? That's not always clear, but it is an important distinction. But let's think about asking prices first. All properties in the USA are listed on the MLS, which is the realtors, their estate agents' computerized network of property details. And sometimes that'll be the figure that you'll find when you're doing your internet search. Now, what you may not appreciate if you're unfamiliar with the US market is that often the listing price is effectively a starting point for highest and best bids. It's an invitation to bid over and above that asking price. And properties will be listed at a low price to attract interest. But the bank, in the case of foreclosed property, which is the type of property we deal with, will be looking for a higher price and will invite offers over and above. Now, in the UK, we're used to the opposite being the case. We're used to an asking price being an invitation to put in a lower bid. But that's not always the case in the USA. And actually, when we buy, we might put in 100 bids in order to get 8 acceptances. And that's not a high success rate, and that's because we make only very competitive offers. And when our offers are not accepted, the property will usually sell for more than the listed price, quite often a lot more. So let's think about sold prices. It's possible to search the internet and to find sold prices. Now, this may be the price of other properties sold on the same development where we're offering a property, or it may even be the price that we purchased the property for. Now, we'd suggest that you need to be cautious when looking at a sold price, and you certainly don't want to read too much into the figure, because there's a lot of things that the sold price on its own will not tell you. So, for example, what condition is this other property in? If it's a foreclosure, it's not uncommon for them to be damaged by the previous owner, and this damage can range from taking the kitchen out, which is surprisingly common, to trashing the property completely. And at best, we found that properties need to be redecorated and new carpets laid, and at worst, they need substantial repair. And our price is for a property which has been refurbished, but you need to compare that to the condition that the other property is in. And of course, from the asking price, you're just not going to know that, or even from the sold price. Again, we only buy the best condos in a development. And as I've pointed out before, if there are two properties available in the same development, then we'll take the best property. And that might mean, for example, taking the one overlooking the lake and fountains and not the one overlooking the car park. And again, unless you know the development, you won't know how far that's reflected in the figures. Also, we buy the properties and we clean the title. And what a lot of people don't realize is that in the USA, some outstanding taxes and debts can be passed with the property, and they then become the responsibility of the purchaser. So when you look at a sold price for what looks like a similar property, you won't know if there were any outstanding debts and taxes, or how much they were. So what looks like a low price on the internet may reflect a high level of encumbrances to pass on to a buyer. But because we buy the properties before we sell them on, we pay off any outstanding taxes and debts, and that's also reflected in our end sale price. Of course, our price also includes what you could call our project management fees, our fees for finding the property, for liaising with lawyers and the title company, for organising and overseeing the renovations, and for letting the property. Put another way, our price includes our fees for using our time and our expertise. And it's not just for overseeing these tangible things. Some people may look at the prices that they find on the internet and think, well, I'll pop over to the USA and do this myself. But of course it's not that easy. For a start, we buy direct from the banks, which is something you wouldn't be able to do. But to buy the right property, it's not just a case of buying any old property in any development just because it's cheap. Our team in the USA have over 15 years experience of the Orlando market, and they know the area inside out. We know the best areas, we know the history of many of these developments, which means we know which ones are popular and which ones are not, both with buyers and sellers. We're specifically seeking out properties which we know which will rent, and which will be amongst the first to enjoy the upturn in values when the market turns. And that's why we won't just bid blind from a list. And as I said before, if there are two condos in the same block, we make sure that we bid only on the condo with the best features or aspect. In other words, we only take the best. And this care and expertise is also reflected in our pricing. It's true that you get what you pay for, and we want to make sure that you get the best. So in summary, when you're comparing an apparent sale price with our asking price, you need to ask yourself, is the property in good condition, or does it require substantial repair and renovation? Are there debts and taxes unpaid which pass with the property, and how much would it cost to clear them? Is this the best property in the block, or is it the one around the back which overlooks the dustbin store? And is it worth paying Gainmaker their fee so that I can tap into their years of experience in the market to be sure that I'm buying a quality property in a quality development in a quality location which is going to be readily rentable, which is going to be one of the first to benefit from capital growth when it comes, and which will be readily saleable if and when I want to sell? I could go on, but the point I'm making is that the figures on the internet are, in themselves, meaningless unless you know that you're making a like-for-like comparison, and the chances are that you are not. We are confident that at our prices, these properties offer excellent value for money, along with peace of mind of knowing that they've been individually selected and properly prepared, both legally and physically, for renting out as a top quality investment.